No, I think like no doubt it's incredible, right? Like the tech is a feat. It's a lot of work that went into it, and it looks great. Like there's no doubt here that it's really really good looking, and it definitely sparked a lot of conversation on the internet. The marketing, everybody's talking about it. Everybody was going crazy, and definitely all the artists that I know, all the modelers and environmental artists, and all of them were just immediately, oh my God, this is amazing. What will happen with my workflow? How will I work? Oh my God, I can't wait. Right. So everybody's like super excited about it. And it's great, and it's a really good tech demo to show off that tech. PS5, I think it really shows the power, or what we could theoretically expect, that we could pump out onto a PS5. And it really gets me excited about that, the amount of detail and it's really the detail that I think is missing in a lot of games, that it kind of shows off. So I think that's amazing. At the same time, though, this is not planned to be out until like the end of 2021, right? And there's still probably a lot of open questions and performance and like, how do you really make this content? What went into actually making that demo? How much work did it take? What the tools look like? What were the workflows? So there's a lot of unanswered questions around that part of it.
Some more time. So yeah, I mean, the first question is, of course, I kind of know the answer, but I want to make it clear out there for people who haven't seen the demo, or if you're watching this, I'm going to get the video going. So, of course, how practical is that? Real? How much of it is real? How much of it is faked? I mean, I know we're near launch, and usually in that case, whenever a tech demo is near launch, it's pretty close, right? It's not like a fairy tale. But I want to hear kind of your opinion of, because there were new tech in there, the nanite, I believe, the lumen, the first time global illumination is really introduced in a practical way. Unreal, right? Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah. Like I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, definitely. Like I think lumen is interesting, and how and definitely the approach that they're taking with it is super interesting, and there's a lot of other real-time GI techniques, and it looks like lumen is kind of combining a bunch and really delivering something, and kind of also leaning on the fact that nanite is a thing to also help do some of the heavy lifting at a high detail level. But yeah, so yeah, definitely real-time GI is a huge productivity saver for people that are making these levels. And I think that's really a big deal. Nanite on the other hand, though, I think there's so much implications in like having the budget and the artistic team to even be able to create assets of that quality. Some people are like, oh no, I don't need to create assets of that quality. I could just use Quixel or whatever, right? But then you don't want all the games to look the same, right? You want to be able to add your stamp and your artistic touch, right? So it's really a high bar for a lot of game dev teams out there to even be able to try to reach, right? And I have no idea what the asset sizes are on disk, and like there's so many unanswered questions there. But it's there's no doubt that tech demo is amazing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's try to break it down. I mean, there's two main systems, as we kind of discussed. There's the Geo one, and they were talking about how, I mean, I think I read into it a bit, where it's kind of like how virtual texturing was kind of introduced in Unreal recently. And the idea is kind of similar to how they apply it to geometry. Do you mind kind of talking more about what the theory is behind that and how they're applying it per pixel, a certain amount of triangles? And so it's just what you see is not exactly.
Yeah, like I don't know all of the details about, like, of course they haven't really released all the details either, right? Of how the GI systems working. They kind of detail the real. Let me see if I can even find that link again. But there was something, you know, about at a long distance, you're using a much more coarse representation of the scene, like voxel based geometry, or geometry that's converted into like a coarse voxel grid, and you use that to kind of do your traces against for the GI. And then when it's closer to camera, it's using more detailed information, right? So that's how you could kind of get a large view distance on a large scene with real-time GI without like killing your performance, right? Because the further away you are, you use a more coarser approximation, right? So that part is really interesting. And every artist wants to do it with baking and bake steps. They just want to plop in their lights and it just works, right? The one thing to take away, you know, it's one light source, right? So like usually with these kind of techniques, the more light sources you have, the slower it's going to go, right? But just doing one main light and having that give you real time GI is a big improvement over having nothing, right? So you know, when it comes to real time GI, I think that's really cool. And there's a lot of techniques out there for, like, you know, there's Enlighten that does real time GI, but that has a bake step. There's DDGI. That also has some type of baking involved in, where you have to kind of like bake some sort of occlusion or visibility calculation for the probes that you're doing the GI on. So like to have a system that's truly like no baking and you just drop some lights in, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
and I don't know if it's even no baking, right? So because like I said, I don't know all of the details.
Yeah, the prep work behind it.
Yeah.
The one thing that scares me is how people look at this demo and just, especially they haven't done game development, right? They see it as kind of like a skipping step for basically 20 to 30 years of game dev knowledge. It's like, oh, no LLD is done, I guess I shouldn't learn that, or how to optimize or any of that technique. It seems like I can just create something in ZBrush, drop it in, light it, call it done, which is foolish, right?
I think that promise is a little bit of overselling, right? I think it's still to be known how much of this geometry can you have in a game where you're like, hey, my target is 4K 60 frames a second. How much of your game could be this geometry? That's unknown, right? And so I think people ready to abandon all of the things you've learned about how to optimize assets and LODs and all that, hold your horses on that,
right?
And the other thing that was pointed out about this technique too, that I don't think anybody really noticed, is the environment's very static. This, right? So when you want actual dynamic movement and stuff like that, it's unclear how this tech translates to that.
I think everyone.
Character artists are still like, damn, I guess I don't have a silver bullet just yet. Right?
Character artists are already thinking this way in current gen, dude. The way they build their props. This is exactly how they are. This is how sloppy they are.
You're hating already. Damn.
Bro, the spoiledness of a character artist. At some point, I'm gonna write a book on it. It's just ridiculous, dude. I remember this one time where we were so constricted with our levels, where we were like, all right, this is the amount of textures, yada yada yada, and then basically the character artist would have 6 times that with a character. It was like, I'll just use one for a finger, another one for an eyeball, 2048 max. But that's just how they think. That's how they are. I mean, in a way, the characters are pretty close to camera, but it's just one of those things. I feel, I think environment artists just by the nature of what we do, have a little bit more care with how we optimize and make things work, because the impression of the environment, especially something like what we're seeing right now, making it run, making it look good at the same time that stands up to a well-made character is very important to make it feel like one item, right? But well, I mean, this demo achieved what it needed to achieve, which was impress the shit out of everybody, and it set a high bar. I mean, you got to have these type of things to kind of stretch out, the possibilities, and even if you don't hit that mark every time, you'll still end up pretty close to it, which is in the end a better product for everybody, right? So.
Yeah, I'll say that like for like film and TV production, like this stuff is like really, really promising, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
For games, there's some promise there. It's still very unknown. Like in practice, like how will you actually use this?
How did you do it?
Yeah, and like how will our team, be able to get their vision across with this tech and not go crazy with huge ass assets and take forever to make them and all of that.
Yeah, this part they're just showing off right here. I mean, this is that's incredible. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's great.
This one have a demo.
Yeah, it's great. I would say like, so here's where I'll talk about some of my philosophical beliefs. We're coming into another generation, right?
Yeah.
Of console hardware, and we're showing absolutely amazing graphics, right? Absolutely amazing graphics. Look at these graphics. Look at the level of detail you could get. There's a big difference between these graphics and like say the games of last gen, right?
Yeah.
But character animation, character movement, all of that is still the same, right? Mm-hmm. They talked about in the video, some advancements they did with like IK and the cloth, her scarf and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's cool, but like it's not as big of a leap as these graphics. You know what I mean?
Are you saying those disciplines are lazy? Is that what you're saying?
No. No.
They don't do as much.
I would never say that, but what I would say is, and if you talk to gameplay guys or animation folks, they'll tell you the same thing. It's like we focus on every gen. We focus on graphics. Graphics is it's the easy thing to sell. It's the thing that people could obviously see is better, and we don't really give a lot of love to some of the other disciplines, right? Although like there was a lot of talk in this as well about audio, right? Because audio seems to be something that people want to focus on this gen. And you've worked on games. Every game, audio team gets like, hey, you get 2%. Yeah, you could get whatever scraps you have left over in the memory for your little audio, right? And so like now we're talking about actual like real proper 3D spatial sound and all sorts of modeling of how you hear and the sound waves and all this kind of nonsense, right?
Yeah. Can you expand on that nonsense? Because when I heard that, I didn't like, what do you mean 3D sound? Don't we have that? Don't we have that already?
Well,
Can't I just hear where it's coming from? Come on, let's get back to the graphics, guys.
Exactly right. And I think even most people, unless you're like a serious audiophile, you won't even really notice.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have 3D positional sound, right? Sounds over there, it could be behind you, to the left of you, whatever, usually, right? Yeah. But then actually to be able to do proper reverb and it changes based on the room that you're in, and different smaller room has this.
So we're talking about so all the effects that used to be done in post-production, same idea like any real-time applications, just to hear
or
it
if you
happen.
Or if you were to do it like in a different gen, it would like take up a whole core or take up some of the main thread, do a lot of those effects. And then you're like, no, audio guys, you got you got like a half a millisecond or quarter of a millisecond budget for this stuff, right? So you can't really do that stuff, right?
You got 2 weeks.
And this gen, there's a lot of talk about audio processing and audio hardware, specific audio hardware to do this in hardware, right? Yeah. And so it's audio versus dream, you would think, and so hopefully, more games like focus on that and lean into that as well, and not just the graphics, right?
I see. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I hear a lot of talk with with characters especially. They're trying to like finally do something with hair. I mean, it's been the same technique for a few gen now. We're talking about hair simulation, actual physics with the hair, and really fancy stuff that the film industry have been pioneering for a while now. Same with the cloth, same idea, cloth simulation.
Homegirl's hair is not doing anything special here, though, right? So, but also, this isn't really the focus of this demo either. Right?
Yeah, the characters in this one, especially, I mean, I felt like it's probably an art direction choice where it felt more like stylized, right? So it wasn't very. I've seen better characters.
This demo is definitely not about the character.
Yeah, it's all about the environment for sure. I mean, it's the most important department of the game pipeline. We make everything work.
Showing your bias. Showing your bias over here.
We create worlds, bro. The Matrix wasn't about. I guess it was about the characters. We were talking about the Matrix, though. Yeah. Anyways,
kids at home. Video game making is a team sport. Do not listen to Brandon.
Well, I mean, like the lighting system. I mean, you made a valid point too. They really bragged about the GI solution, but it's from a single light source. They didn't really play too much with. This one they have one light source with one effect source, so 2 at most, and it seems like the rule still applies in next gen, where too many dynamic lights will kill your processors. So that hasn't changed.
Especially when especially if you have to trace, you're tracing rays around, right? So the more you have to do that, and you have to do more of that if you have more light sources, right? So
this actually leads into my next piece of conversation. So ray tracing the last year and a half, especially starting with that Star Wars demo at GDC, was like the onslaught of the next wave, and we thought we were going to focus on that for the next few years, which we are. But then this whole Lumen system happened. What's your take on that? Is there going to be a combination of two? Is ray tracing going to be better because it's still struggling with just hardware limitations, right? There's not much we can do about that, or what's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I'm not really. I think it's a big topic, right? But generally, I think like part of what Lumen is doing is ray tracing, right?
Yeah.
But just kind of like in software and compute, right? And kind of doing it in a way that's sufficient for this use case, right? And there is like straight up like DXR and NVIDIA demos that show like global illumination, right? But that technique, like doing straight up DXR rendering for the whole of your global illumination, is just not, like, the cost is still very high, even if you have a 2080 Ti and if you want to run it at like really high resolutions, it's a problem at high resolutions, right? So some technique like this, like Lumen here, where it's like kind of doing like a 3-stage approach to generating the GI. Is a way of kind of like reducing the cost and getting a believable look, right? So like I'm interested to see what more games are going to do. Like I know, like, Gears of War showed they were talking about what was that, ray trace reflections for Xbox Series X. So I'm curious what more and more games to what extent they do ray tracing on the consoles.
So, I mean, kind of going back to the original point, right? When people first saw this, especially newbies, I call them noobs, where they saw this demo where they're like, abandon every type of valuable knowledge that we built up the last 20 years. Forget it. Let's just throw all shit to the wall, right? They're talking like film people now.
I would, yeah, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the news. Only the news for talking like that. Some veterans were super excited about that prospect as well, and some veterans were super excited about it, and then kind of joked about it, right? Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, what do you mean? I can just take my ZBrush and drop it straight in? Amazing! I can't wait!" Right? So,
yeah. This is where Ronaldo's brain explodes. Gritting his teeth. He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah. Oh, Ronaldo's super excited about this too. Like,
he is, right?
I think if you're into graphics and you're making video games,
this is awesome. Yeah, it's exciting. This is why we're in games.
You can't not be excited by this. Like this is really good stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: like with the last tech demo, right? From all engines, right? Usually near launch for PS4. I feel like a lot of the games actually surpassed those tech demos. They were just kind of talking about Unreal, right? We're talking about Unreal right now. Like I feel like a lot of the later generation, like Last of Us 2, all these other games that have been coming out, have been totally killing it. So do you feel by the end of PS5, maybe not that long, where we're going to see something like this in a playable way, where it doesn't seem so impossible?
Yeah, I think that definitely is a possibility, right? People also bring up like the PlayStation. What was it? Was it the PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 demo? The voxel clone tracing one,
right?
That never actually came out, right? That never came out in anything that was performant and actually usable. And that was also another cool demo from like way back, right? So like it's very possible too that you never see this in any game or any game reaching this quality either, right? Or you see parts of it, right? You know, you see games where a couple of hero pieces are using this technology, the man I am talking about, and I'm more bullish on Lumen being something that you can use across many games, right? Because I know there's a lot of people working on similar techniques for real-time GI, right? So yeah, like I think you'll see something like this, and it's possible that this is the benchmark for games to strive to many years down the line on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, right?
Yeah, I will want to bring up this point. Like when people there are general reactions to this is like, oh my God, this is exciting, right? And then there's another type of reaction, and let me just kind of call them burnouts. People who are kind of washed up from the industry, where they look at this as like, and there's a legitimate concern where they feel like the fidelity of what's expected from this type of demo from the consumer, from the publishers, where the team size is not exactly growing, right? And not everybody is sourcing mega scans that has readily available assets to kind of populate the world. They are very concerned with this type of demo and expectation. What's your feeling?
This is how all tech demos are, right? Tech demos are aspirational, right? But yeah, like you need a crazy talented and skilled art team to make this. Like you need that. And that is not the majority of the industry, right? This level of quality and this level of detail is not what all game creators want to make, right? So even though PS5 and Xbox Series X have way more GPU horsepower and way more cores and all this kind of stuff, right? Some people still just want to make. I'm just trying to figure like a game that's pretty simple, like Animal Crossing, right? Yeah. People still just want to make Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing is making a killing, right? And it's not anywhere near this level of fidelity because it doesn't need to be, right? Because it's a different type of game, right? And there's still space for those different types of games. But those different types of games, and this is historically, I think, true, right? When you want to sell hardware, when you want to sell a console box, right? Nobody wants to see the new version of Animal Crossing to make that decision, right? They want to see what is the absolute maximum that this thing can do. What is the aspirational target of what this box can do, and that's why these tech demos exist.
Yeah. So it's best to kind of just treat this as aspirational and don't be the worry wart warning about the apocalypse of game development.
Yeah, and I think like if you looked at the Xbox event that happened a while back, all the third party games that are going to be coming out on Xbox Series X,
that's
none
the
of them are
majority.
at this quality,
right?
Yeah, none of them are at this quality level, right? And so like don't expect every game coming out on that console to look like this here, right?
That's right.
I would expect more of what you saw that those Xbox demos
to be the norm, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's a very interesting point. Like even with the first party publishers, like their Xbox team and their Sony team or whatever, that seem to have like more stability and infinite resources to kind of deliver these.
Well, yeah.
This is just going to be a special case type of studio to kind of deliver this, right?
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, right? I think Xbox, we have not seen the Xbox first party stuff,
right?
Really.
That's true.
We saw Gears, but we haven't seen Halo and all that other stuff, right? We haven't seen the heat that Sony's going to come with on PS5 first party, right? Like we have no idea, right?
Yeah, June what maybe, was it? June 3rd or something? That's they announced their event, so that's actually that's last week. If you're watching this.
Did they actually announce? I heard that was like a rumor.
They just announced it today, where they're going to have an actual PlayStation 5 event. They're going to keep the what's the lead engineer, Mark Cena, as far away from the premises as possible.
His name is Cerny. His name is Cerny, by the way.
Cerny, Mark Cerny. Yeah. Keep away from the premises of this presentation event. They're trying to get people interested, not lull people to quarantine sleep, right? So it's going to be I think that's when they're going to show stuff.
Yeah, I expect to see like heat. I expect to see stuff that looks really nice. That's what I'm expecting. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. I mean, that's pretty much it. I think everybody was super. I'm kind of actually. Well, we kind of turned this into like a slightly better than developers reacting to Unreal Engine 5. I've been seeing that pop up like every time you see it. It's like, oh my god, have we gone that low? This is more a discussion. I have a fancier set.
Trust me, I think when this video came out, I was in a meeting.
Yeah.
And then my phone was just vibrating. I was getting messages all over the place. Like people were freaking out. Like let's just be real. This
broke the internet.
Was a topic. Yeah. This was a topic of discussion in every single game dev studio around the world.
It's exciting.
On that
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think between PS3 to PS4 I saw a demo that was just this exciting. It's been a while for us, I believe. It just feels so out of grasp. And even with discussing this, we have no idea how they put it together. They haven't really shared too much details about it, except for maybe combining a lot of the techniques that you're saying that we have now to leverage the fakery, right?
I wouldn't even say how much of this is really fake. Like I think, like it's just good. Like there may be some clever placement of things, and like so of course it's a controlled camera, right?
Right.
But it's just I can't say it's fake. I got to say it's really good.
It's really good. This is why everybody who makes a demo for a game needs to have that marketing guy in there, because I feel like they really nailed the beats. It's like, all right, here's a statue from ZBrush, right? I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, I guess. Yeah. Here's a room full of them. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, I know it's been a static environment this whole time. Let's just jump through it real quick. I was like, what the fuck? They really nailed it, man. I feel like the beats were awesome. They just upped it every 2 seconds. Yeah.
Marketing machine is on point for sure.
But it's not just the marketing. It's like it's an impressive. Like it felt like everybody was in the room to get their take, and I feel like a lot of these gameplay demos, unless the designer is really on top of their game and understand that side, a lot of people miss that. Thinking of it like music, right? Every like a minute or so, something has to happen to really keep you engaged. It's been a while since I've seen a demo like that. And they really nailed
it. Took a lot. Yeah, it takes a lot to get everybody on the same page to deliver something like this, for sure.